and welcome to Quarter Time Podcast. I'm Lucy G.
And I'm Lucy P.
And we're here to bring you all the netball goodness you never knew you needed.
Hello, 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 and thank you so much for tuning in to the final episode of the first season of Quarter Time. We had an incredible weekend of netball to round off the 2021 Vitality Netball Superleague season, culminating in an enormous victory and first championship for the Electric Loughborough Lightning over Team Bath on Sunday. It has been such an amazing season, and for me, the finals were just the icing on the cake. So Lucy G, what have we got coming up on the show today?
So for our final episode of the season, Emosh, we will be bringing you our 3-word summaries for all 4 matches and also going into detail about each contest, picking out the key stats and player performances from every game across finals weekend. We then have a really, really lovely interview with Team Bath co-captain and arguably one of the most creative and talented shooters in the league. It's our beloved Aussie import, Kim Borger. We chat to her about the drama and emotions of playing in a finals weekend, dealing with disappointment, and how you pick yourself up after coming so close to tasting victory.
Amazing. Okay, let's dive into our analysis, starting with the semi-finals. So first up, we had Lightning versus Rhinos. And for this one, I said, down to business. It was an amazing first quarter from Rhinos, taking the lead 14-13. But after that, Lightning just took the game by the scruff of the neck, basically, and manhandled their way to a very convincing victory. Once they got the nerves out of the way, I just thought Lightning were ruthless. They won the second quarter by 9 goals and the third quarter by 8. What was so impressive was the Lightning defense on the center pass. There were just so few options for Rhinos, and they were being smothered, having to work so hard to push forward and just being seduced into making errors. We saw a lot of movement from Rushton. She was playing more like a second goal attack, really, which worked well in the opening quarter, but then Lightning started to figure this out, and then the experience of Sam May was just really shining through. The defense, they were just all over Rhinos, particularly on the shot, with Rhinos only shooting 38 from 55 at 69%, with 17 missed shots in total. Wowza. 73% for Rushton and 61% for Dixon, which is really low and really unlike them, to be honest. And compared with the Lightning attack end, who were firing at 92%, only missing 5 shots in the game, and listen to this, getting 4 offensive rebounds. So they missed 1 in the whole game. Insane. There was a real sticky patch in the second quarter for Rhinos, and that was quite disappointing, actually, because it sort of got a little bit out of control for them there. And then in the third quarter, Lightning scored 10 goals in under 6 minutes, and Rhinos only scored 3. It was just bizarre how that kept happening, these just patches where it all just completely went to pieces. Surprisingly, Lightning had a couple more on the unforced errors with 7 to Rhinos 4, but that is still a very clinical game from both teams. And I think that's why it was such a joy to watch. We had 20 interceptions in total across this game, 26 deflections in total. It was defensively such a spectacle of a game and just exactly what we were hoping for from a semi-final. From a fan perspective, I guess a closer game would have probably been a bit more exciting, but given that Rhinos were coming off the back of isolation and also missing Donnell Wallum, I think it was pretty much how we expected the game to go, particularly given the scintillating form that Lightning were in coming into finals weekend.
Yeah, 100%. I think we have to do a bit of a shout out to Twainy Keenan, who was really doing the business on Chollock in the opening quarter. And although it wasn't possible for her to sustain it throughout the rest of the game, she should really be proud of such a strong performance, personally, I think.
Yeah, my thought with her is that obviously she was brought in to replace Maddie Brown. So it'd be interesting to see what happens in terms of her next season, as I think they really need her if they want to have as successful a year as they had this year.
Yeah, definitely. Like she's been a real godsend to them, bringing her in those sort of dying. Well, no, it was outside of the sign-in seat period, wasn't it? But she's been exceptional for them. And speaking of exceptional, I think it has to be said that every player on court for Lightning was truly outstanding. And I think towards the latter part of the game, it sort of exposed the fact that Rhinos did qualify for that final four with fewer points, and they were just outclassed by Lightning, who were a cut above.
Yeah, definitely.
So moving on to our second semi-final, it was such a good one. It was a Thunder versus Bath, and I've gone for a Northern heartbreak. Yeah, Thunder will be we're clearly, visibly, absolutely devastated by this, but what a cracker of a game. I think the first half of the first quarter was quite tumultuous. Love that word. But we did sort of start to see glimpses of, I say the old Bath, let's say that the Bath of earlier on in the season when they're in like really fine form, we sort of saw them start to return. And I think they managed to settle first and really reminded us about why they were first to qualify for the finals. I think Kim Borger really had Kerry Allman's number in the latter half of the first quarter. And she had all the fancy footwork to just sort of outrun Almond a little bit. Her footwork was just incredible. The speed of it was outstanding. I did feel like Bath potentially should have been further ahead than what they were, because Thunder were really struggling to service their shooters quite as well as they normally do. You know, Cardwell actually shot more than Mvula in this game. Mvula only had 18 from 21 attempts.
Wow.
And like, that's just wild compared to their sort of normal figures. But Cardwell, credit to her, she stood up, and if they weren't able to service Mvula, she just proved that she would always make herself an option and make herself available. What I loved most is that for me this was a battle of the mid-court, and there were a ridiculous number of interceptions in the second quarter alone. I think Laura Malcolm proved herself in this game that she is absolutely world class. And it makes me so excited for the Roses to have her in wing defence with Guthrie in centre. I think, oh my God, it's going to be formidable. I kind of felt like neither team were quite playing their best netball, but I also think that's because their opposition wouldn't allow them to. You still felt like each of them had more in the tank, but they were being blocked at every turn. Bath shooters were absolutely on song, shooting at 95%. They only missed 2 shots compared to Thunder, who missed 7. Other than that, it was pretty even on most stats. You know, turnovers, interceptions, deflections, unforced errors, they were all within 1 of each other. So it was a really, really even battle. And I think that's reflected in having such a close scoreline.
Yeah, I mean, the second half of the game was actually a draw. Like both the third and fourth quarters were actually drawn. And I think Bath were quite lucky to come away with the victory in the end, because Thunder really came at them in the second half. But yeah, it was just a series of outstanding performances in the midcourt. I mean, Allison, 3 interceptions, 2 deflections, 5 turnovers. Amazing. Malcolm, 3 interceptions, 1 deflection, 4 turnovers. I mean, you know, that's just incredible numbers for those guys in the midcourt.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that has to be said in terms of numbers and statistics and whatnot, we mentioned Mvula only had 21 attempts. Ebony Usura Brown doesn't have a lot of intercepts or deflections to her name in this game. She had 18 penalties, which is quite a lot, 1 deflection, and she got herself a caution. But although it's not reflected in the numbers, what it does tell us is that she completely shut down Mvula. She was all over her and just blocked that service entirely. So she might not have the figures to back it up, but she did an incredible job.
Yeah, 100%. Next up, on to Sunday, we had the 3rd and 4th place playoff between Rhinos and Thunder. And for this one, I said plucky but unlucky.
Nice.
It was a really gutsy performance from Rhinos, but I mean, Thunder were just too good in the end. Rhinos again won the opening quarter, and they also won the 3rd quarter in this game, but they just had these shaky patches in the 2nd and final quarter, which really allowed Thunder to just put the game to bed. Rhinos' shooting percentage again was a bit of a concern, still just 73 to Thunder's 84, and Thunder led in terms of turnovers and rebounds. However, Rhinos led on interceptions and had fewer unforced errors. So again, from a stats perspective, it was fairly even, and there was so much excitement in the game and the kind of energy that we've come to know and love from this sort of Northern derby. I think in general, the game was won on belief. And Thunder came in so wounded, having missed out on the final just really narrowly against Bath, and they just weren't taking no for an answer. And particularly this Thunder side, they have so much experience together. So many of them were just absolutely crucial in the championship win. And although Rhinos have built a fantastic culture, they don't yet have those kind of memories yet to really galvanize the team and bring them together. But yeah, there was that really terrible patch in the second quarter, and in that bit they only scored 2 in 6 minutes to Thunder 7, and they were just being smothered. Whenever they did get a turnover, they ended up losing it. There was just so much pressure on them. But it will be a lesson for those players, in being in that final environment. So many of them won't have played in a final before, and so looking ahead to next year, I think it will be really positive.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, Rhinos didn't make it easy for Thunder at all. And I don't think the score actually reflects how close the game was and how much Rhinos contributed to that game. That third quarter was a bit of a disaster for Thunder, and they only led by 2 going into the fourth quarter. So I think everyone was like a little bit nervous, and no one really knew what was going to happen. But, fair play to them. They showed that proper Northern grit. They hunkered down and brought the physicality up in that final 12 minutes and just exposed a few errors to take the win.
Yeah, and just every player for Thunder was so solid, and they stood up in those key moments. And particularly, again, Laura Malcolm. I mean, she's just had an outstanding season, and she's got to be a shoo-in for Commonwealth Games, given her versatility and the quality of her play next year. And again, Kerry Almond, we mentioned, didn't have such a good game against Kim Borger, but against Rushton, it was so good to see that battle. And, to see someone who's just at the start of their career really going toe for toe with someone coming towards the end. I mean, we don't know what's next for Kerry Almond. It certainly feels like she's maybe got unfinished business, and she's still playing as good as ever. So why retire again,
Yeah, exactly. And that's what Karen Gregg said in the post-match presser. She was like, she's in the form of her life, actually. So will we see her return next year? Who knows? So on to the big one. It was the grand final, Lightning versus Bath. And we actually did a call out for some 3-word summaries from you guys, our lovely listeners. And boy, did you guys deliver. We're absolutely flooded with 3-word summaries. So I'm just going to pick a few. We had Struck by Lightning, classic. Lightning made history. Epic nail-biting deserved. Unbelievably, breathtakingly unreal. Beth Cobden's supremacy, love that one. Well-deserved winners. ACL, what ACL? But the one that I'm going for is from Punky Nuts on Instagram. Sorry, I don't know your real name. And she has gone for drama, hunger, emotion. Nice. And I just think this perfectly encapsulates this game. It had all the drama. Lightning were clearly starving for the win, and it had all the emotion behind it with Beth Cobden's journey, Sam May's retirement, the fact they'd been in 3 finals, not been able to get over the line. It was just absolutely, it was perfection. It was perfection. And for me, it was the Nat Panigari, Beth Cobden partnership. I think both of them are in the form of their life at the moment. And the way that they work together, this symbiotic relationship that they have, it is just something else. And actually, I know that Nat Panigari is often sometimes overlooked, I think we could say, when it comes to Rose's selections, but I think she has really put her hand up this year. I've never seen her play this well before. Like, she's just exceptional. So yeah, who knows, you might see her in the Com Games squad. But going back to the game, Lightning put their foot down from the off. They won the first 2 quarters 11-7. They did lose the third quarter and then dominated in the fourth quarter. So they were ahead by 7 at 3-quarter time. And you kind of felt like maybe it was just about possible for Bath to do this, but they really needed to do something special. Instead, it all came crumbling down in spectacular fashion, and Lightning just squeezed the life out of Bath. They won that last quarter 18-8.
Wowza.
What was really interesting for me is that Lightning stuck with the same 7 for the whole game. because what we've seen throughout the season is that they're one of the teams who probably utilised their bench the most. And we actually mentioned this to Sarah in the post-match press as well. Like, why did you keep the same 7 on when Lightning have been renowned this season for being able to rotate the bench so much? And, you know, for credit to her, she said that they deserve to see it through. And like 100%. I think, you know, it's a bit of a shame that the likes of Alice Harvey didn't get a bit of a run out, and we found out that Susie Liversidge was actually injured. So that's partly why as well. But I think that's totally fair. They absolutely did the business. And I think, yeah, they did deserve to see it out, I think. The shooting percentages were amazing. Ella Clark had 11 from 13, 84%. Chollock, 38 from 41 at 92%. And again, with the rebounds, she got 4 offensive rebounds from the 5 that Loughborough missed. So, like, in exactly the same as the other game, it was basically just 1 miss. And defensively, you know, Audio Barron, 2 interceptions, 5 deflections, 3 turnovers. Cobden, 3 interceptions, 5 deflections, 4 turnovers. They were just all over it like a rash.
Yeah. And I mean, contrasting that with up the other end for Bath, Sophie Drakeford-Lewis only shot 4 from 5 and then was actually benched in the 4th quarter. And Borger, 22 from 24 at 91%, but just not enough attempts on the board at all. I thought it was really interesting to bring Sophie off. I mean, obviously she wasn't having as strong an impact, but it comes down to Bath not having that plan B really, or not having that option to look to if things aren't working straight away. I think Betsy Creek came on and did a job, but she's not a starting player for them. And so it was exposed quite quickly that Kim Borger's maybe a bit out of position and it just wasn't really working. But yeah, it was a real moment where you wanted Sophie to stand up and to shoot, because she can shoot. You know, she's had so many games at 100%, but she just wasn't backing herself.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't mind too much that she was taken out of goal attack, but I don't think she should have been benched. I think she should have been put into wing attack. And actually, I think part of the problem of not being able to service them enough was that Rachel Shaw did not have a great game. I think she really struggled up against, you know, Vitality Player of the Season, Beth Cobden. And actually, I would have liked to have seen SDL given a shot in wing attack instead. But hey.
Yeah, but the thing is, we haven't seen much of that this season, whereas Sarah Francis-Bayman has been rotating that bench, and we've seen a bit of Susie Liversidge at wing attack, and we've seen a bit here and there. We haven't really for Bath, except that one sort of panic moment a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. So yeah, maybe something to think about. I think definitely Sophie working on her wing attack game would be no bad thing in terms of from an England perspective. But I think you needed her in the goal circle for Bath to really make an impact, and maybe it was just that she needed a bit of advice and a bit of coaching through that moment.
Yeah. But I mean, what a great game. Like, even though it was a bit of a blowout in the end, it was just so watchable. And I did immediately get home and put the replay on. So such a loser.
And I guess it was all about the atmosphere as well. I mean, it was amazing. The crowd were just screaming, and something about it being the first time that Loughborough have done it. It just gives that special tingly feeling. I don't know what it is, but it's really, really special. And I think that they should be so proud. I think they've had a fantastic season, and it's, 15 years in the making now that's really come to fruition with this group. And you've said it before, they're a team of grafters. They're not these shiny superstars, the big names, who've played in Australia and New Zealand, they don't have that necessarily. And obviously Beth Cobden, but apart from that, it's just a team of hard workers, real gritty players who are just determined to get the win. Yeah,
100%. And speaking of the fans, that is why my voice does sound like this today. I could not resist. And yeah, I mean, I was a neutral for this game, and it was just incredible. I think the crowd was definitely on Bath's side. I think it was definitely louder for Bath than it was for Lightning. But yeah, I think it was good for the league as well, actually, to have a new winner.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's nice to see someone win their 6th championship, but actually it's really nice to see someone win their 1st. So big up Lightning. Really, really proud of what they've done this season. Coming up next, we chat to Kim Borger all about finals weekend. We discuss everything from preparation, dealing with nerves, all the emotions, and what she's planning to do now that the season is over.
Kim, thank you so much for joining us after a whirlwind weekend filled with huge highs and devastating lows. How are you feeling generally?
I honestly have got so many emotions. I'm not really sure how to categorize them all at the moment. I definitely am tired. I'm sore. I'm very emotional. I'm excited that the season's finished, but I'm also devastated as well. Like to come so close, it's just shattering. But it's still shining outside, so got to take some good with the bad.
Yeah, I suppose that's the brutality of sport, isn't it? You get so close and yet so far, and it's so much time and energy and emotional investment, and to then not get it at the end, it must be devastating. And of course, it wasn't the result that you're after, but for a neutral, it was one hell of a weekend. Great for the sport, I think, in general. So we want to take a look at the finals weekend as a whole. So starting from before the semi-finals. There's obviously a huge build up to the final series, not only in terms of the physical preparation, but also psychological and emotional prep. So can you talk us through what do you do to prepare for finals weekend?
Well, we try to be as normal as possible and really not overdo it. And because there is so many heightened emotions because people are nervous, bodies are fatigued by that stage as well. So there is a lot of things that play into that. And the fact is that we, didn't exactly know who we were going to play until like the last round sort of thing anyway. So you can't prep too much in advance. And it was a very short week, having the game on the Monday and then having to back up on the Saturday for a double header. So it was a short week. So the preparation time, I guess, was limited in that regard because we only had the one training session, the main training session that week, where normally we would have two, because Anna was just very mindful of how sore our bodies were and tired and fatigue and things like that. So we were really fresh then going into the final as well. But I think we prepared as good as we could. So yeah, it's just frustrating, I guess, to fall short at that final hurdle, I guess.
I think you could definitely see, though, the change from the end of the regular season to the finals. Like, I think it could be argued that there was a slight dip in form towards the end of the regular season, but then the performance that you put out against Thunder was sort of took us back to the start of the season and the form that Bath was in then. It was absolutely incredible performance. So looking at that semi-final first, talk us through your analysis of Thunder. How were you hoping to break down their defence?
Yeah, look, they're an incredible side. They've been in final situations and things like that. They were the reigning premiers and stuff. So they've been in that situation and things. So we just had to really focus on ourselves more than Thunder, I guess. We know how they play. We know their style. We know that they're a physical side and they will contest ball. We know that they've got that holding circle down the attacking end, and we know that they will run on anything in the defensive end as well. And Kerry and Emma have worked together for a number of seasons now, so they've got a really good combo, and they just sort of know where each other are going to be and how each other works. So I guess for us in the attack end, we've got quite a unique style of play because not a lot of teams in the Super League have a rotating circle. So we just need to use that to our advantage and just get that fast footwork and the ball speed that we are so, I think, renowned for down that attack end for Bath.
And you definitely saw that. I mean, you guys were amazing, as Lucy mentioned, against Thunder. And we saw a lovely moment with you and Kerry Almond after the game. And you kind of went over to her and we saw you sort of put a hand on her back. What were you trying to convey to her in that moment?
Well, look, I just know how shattering it is to come so close. And I've got a lot of respect for Kerry as well. As much as we have our battles out on court and things happen in the heat of the moment, we always have had a bit of a respect for each other. And, she came out of retirement for those girls and she put absolutely everything into it. And she was still playing amazingly, considering she's, semi-retired in a way. So I just sort of wanted to comfort her a little bit because it hurts. And I have no doubt that one emotionally she was hurting as well, but then physically her body was probably killing as well, because I know mine was. So it was just more around showing that good sportsmanship and the respect that I think she deserves as well.
Yeah, I really like that respect as well. But it's obviously balanced with, you must have been buzzing internally. So you're trying to balance those emotions of, you know, feeling that elation and joy at the win, and then also showing that comfort. So talk us through the emotions overnight on Saturday. At what point does it switch from really celebrating that win and really being like, oh my God, we're in the final, to getting down to business? How do you manage that very sudden change in mindset and focus?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can see on the footage of the actual game after that semi-final, we were just all beside, like we were just crazy. Like Serena's running around like, rah! Honestly, I've never seen her like that. So to see that and feel that and be in that moment, we had to live in that moment right there and then. And I think it was such a huge thing for us to overcome, because we had a bit of a thing with Thunder previously. Like, I think my very first season, we beat them both times in the rounds, but then we lost to them in the semi-final. So it was kind of like that was always in the back of our mind, but we didn't want to bring it to life, if that makes sense. So we then had to win that and play the way we did. And it was an incredible game by both sides. So we had to embrace that energy that we've created, and then we had to try and harness it to take it on. And I think there was definitely a different kind of vibe from the semi-final to the actual final. I think a lot of nerves were sort of kicking in and things like that as well. But we're a team that creates our own energy, and we do a bit of a dance in the changing room every week. I think we've done it maybe from like the second or third week up in Wakefield. A summer Artman taught us a little dance, and we've just been sort of doing it all the time, and it just sort of gets us up and about and a bit more relaxed and stuff. So
amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That.
It's very unique. I love it. So to then try and get some sleep as well, and just realize that we were actually in the final, like we did it. We'd been working so hard towards this goal, and we were almost there. So yeah, it's quite a funny sort of feeling, but yeah, I don't know what else to say really. I just trying to process myself, but the energy, it was electrifying from where we had been previous games to after that, and then going into the final, it was just insane. Like, yeah, people were bouncing off each other in the changing room and stuff. Like, it was just an incredible feeling.
Yeah, no doubt. And you mentioned Serena, like that clip of her at the end of the game, she's just like roaring.
She's mental.
Oh man, that just gave me life though. I love to see that. You love to see that like rawness, and you know, watching the players like riding that energy and that emotion. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So harnessing all of that and thinking prior to the final, what were you expecting when you faced Loughborough Lightning, having seen how they performed throughout the season?
Yeah, we knew we were going to be very much challenged, because they're a quality side. They have been the entire season since round one, and they had been building different combinations and things like that as well. So they'd have, a different goal attack in there. Their defensive unit was, forever changing in that defensive end and stuff like that. So we knew what we were going to expect, but it's different when you actually get out there, sort of thing. So, and I'm not saying we didn't want it whatsoever, because that would be the biggest lie, but they were that next level with everything that they did. And how do you beat Mary? How do you do it?
Yeah, 100%.
She's a shooting machine, and she's improved so much as well, and she withstands the physical presence of what she's had thrown at her all season, and to still be so composed and turn and shoot. I take my hat off to her, but defensively, how do you come up against that? So I think all the defenders in their league had their work cut out for them, and I'm very, very impressed with how my defensive end handled that and tried to approach it, because we tried to throw everything that we had at her. It's not an easy battle, basically.
No, not at all. And saying that, I thought Ebony did a proper number.
She was brilliant.
On Mo. She was outstanding, especially in the first half of the game. I thought that was probably one of the most rattled or unsettled that we'd seen Mary. So I thought her and Layla did a fantastic job.
Yeah, they didn't seem to be able to find her as well as what they normally were. There was a lot of balls being sprayed off the back line and misfeeds and things like that. So I think they did a fantastic job, and that just goes to show all the pressure that's built out the front with Layla, Imogen, and Serena out the front with that basically that wall of defence. So they did a really good job to be able to then allow Ebbs to contest that ball.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you've mentioned the element of nerves going into the final. Like this is part of one of the things that I love about sport, and also mine and Lucy's background is in the arts and theatre, and that live element and the unpredictability and the fact that anything can happen on the night. I absolutely love that, and I think that's part of what makes sport so special. So given that this was your first Super League final, what were your nerves like ahead of this game?
I don't know. Honestly, I felt like I was completely in control of how I felt through the game, like going into the game. I try not to get myself too wrapped up in the emotion. I obviously want to get myself to a place where I'm pumped up and ready to go, but I feel like I'm a bit of a cool cucumber. The amount of people that told me that I had messages from just saying, wow, you were just so chilled out there. And I was like, well, I need to have a cool head, because ultimately I've got to figure out this defense and have a clear mind and turn and shoot. So I find myself personally, when I'm thinking about things too much, my shot goes off. So I literally just need to be thinking of nothing when I turn to look at that post, because I find if you're starting to overthink everything, then this goes out the window, then that will go out the window, then you're not, flicking on the end of your shot, you're not getting enough knee bend. Like there's so much in, as much as people are, oh yeah, shooting's easy. It's not.
No, absolutely not. As a fellow shooter in the bottom league of, socials, it is not easy at all. Position.
I just try to be as cool and calm out there as well, because I'm no use to anybody else out there if I'm nervous wreck. Like my team need me. They need me to be performing, and I need to be out there leading by example. So I just play my role for the team.
And I think actually you've really seen that composure from you throughout the season. I think Dan Ryan actually commented on it in one of the games, that you are so cool, calm and collected all the time, and it's really admirable. Like I have absolutely no idea how you do it.
I'm like raging on the inside, or I'll be like, that wasn't the right call, or whatever. But because then the defender thinks that they're winning. So it's the same with the umpires. Like the umpires see your body language and things like that. They're going to pick up and they're going to notice things. So you just need to play it cool, smile, have a bit of a laugh, and, just have that poker face ultimately. Psychological
warfare. I love it. So we all know that the 2021 season has been a year like no other. After the loss of the 2020 season, which was absolutely gutting for everyone, fans, players, clubs, everyone involved, we then went on to have unprecedented coverage of the VNSL for 2021. We've had injuries, we've had cancelled games due to COVID, we've had peaks and troughs in form for pretty much, I would say, every team in the league, central venues, travelling. We've had absolutely everything, and I think we've felt every emotion going, and I think it's been a real roller coaster of a season. So putting the final series aside, how have you handled the emotional roller coaster that has been the 2021 season as a whole?
Yeah, it's definitely different, that's for sure. I've never been involved in anything like it, and I do think all credit to England Netball with how they've actually gone, because it could have been an absolute, well, it probably was a nightmare for them. Do you know what I mean? So, but they just handled it really well. And the fact that they somehow managed to get all of this coverage as well is brilliant. So, and it was just amazing to see where netball was and where it's going now, competing with those other sports. And it was great that netball was at the forefront, particularly when there wasn't much sport being played, and we were probably the only female sport being played at some point. So for us to be, the ones leading the way, in charge, like, it was amazing. So full credit to England Netball on that. But I mean, it was definitely it's definitely a season to remember. I mean, personally for me, it was quite an intense season coming over here 2 weeks before Christmas, then getting into lockdown. I'd recently separated from my husband. It was just an absolute nightmare. But to come over here and then have the support from the girls, like, I can't fault them. They were amazing. And to have my club behind me as well and that full support, like, they were just amazing. So I think I'm very lucky to have the support that I've had. And I just, it's gutting that I couldn't return the favour by winning that championship.
Oh, but it's not on you solely.
Oh, I know,
sounds like
but
you're taking that on yourself.
Well, you do when you're a leader. Like when you're one of the captains and stuff like that, you too take it that little bit harder. But you know, that's sport, and that's why sometimes I really do wonder why we play it, because it can be so harsh.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it's also about, you know, with all those ups and downs, it's about who your leader is. And so just from a coaching and culture perspective, what impact has Anna Stembridge had on the club and on you personally?
Yeah, Anna's been great ever since basically the first conversations I've had with her. She does her research and she gets to know the players as well, and how to communicate with them and things, because everyone works differently. You know, you might want to have that hard conversation where I'm quite happy to have those hard conversations. She tells me that I need to do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, right, that's it. And then there might be other people that you might need to be a bit more tender about it and things like that. So she really does try and get to know you and work around what works best for that individual, rather than just putting all of us in the same basket, if that makes sense. She's just so passionate. I don't know if you've ever had a conversation with her about it, but she literally bleeds blue and gold. She's just one of the hardest working coaches I've ever seen. Like, the amount of time that she puts into video analysis and our game plans and all of that prep, it's just insane. And to think that she's a mother of two, she works at a university as well doing psychology, so, and then the Super League coach, so there, and then just have a normal life at some point in there as well is insane. To think that she's got time to do all of that and that she's still so passionate about something like that.
Yeah, I think she's pretty remarkable. And like, I think what she achieved this season as well, like the quality of performance that you guys put out for, you know, 99% of the season, you know, a couple of little blips here and there, the quality was just exceptional. And like we were saying over and over again, I would love to see Team Bath go out and play, you know, an SSN team or an ANZ team, because, you know, there is a clear disparity between the quality of our leagues at the moment, but actually Team Bath have proven themselves, I think, to be of that standard. So like, I would love it if we could do another inter-league competition.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, you can come over to me. You can come to Australia rather than us, you know, staying here and then coming here. And, you know, Australia's beautiful. There's lots of beaches and it's a lot sunnier.
We definitely would be there for the weather, 100%.
Yeah. So looking more widely at netball in the UK, we saw a really fascinating but also highly troubling piece in the Telegraph recently around the restrictions on imports playing in our league. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, can you give us a bit of an outline about what the visa situation is for you guys playing in our league?
Yeah, so just for my personal visa, it basically restricts me to only work for the University of Bath, as they are my sponsor. So to go and get other work is virtually impossible, because my visa won't allow me to get work from a cafe or clothing store or pub or whatever. So I basically have to get leased out as a netball coach to schools if I'm to work in a school. And then there's been some of the girls that want to, you know, get citizenship and things like that because they've been here for so long, but because we don't earn enough money to pass that tax threshold, then the years that we've been here don't exactly count towards anything either. So it's all very messy and complicated, the whole visa situation. So I basically need to apply for a visa every time I come back over, and it's a real process, because you got to get all your sponsorship letters from your sponsor. So mine would be the University of Bath. Once I get all of that, I then can submit the paperwork for the visa, and that can take anywhere between 10 days to 4 weeks basically. And then there's just the actually getting over here now with whole COVID situation. So I had to get an exemption to leave the country from the government. Yeah, so it's all a bit mental, really, just to come over and play sport. But yet other codes of sport just do what they want, really.
Yeah, I find it absolutely wild. And when I read that article, like, my jaw fully hit the floor. I just couldn't believe it. And, Mary Trollock was the prime example in the article, and she was earning something like £12,000 for the entire year. But then that threshold of, what is it, like just over 35,000 or something?
Yeah.
Again, that just highlights the disparity between men's sport and women's sport, in that no one really, I don't think, gets paid that amount in netball. So how on earth are you meant to be able to get to that level with the salary caps and stuff that we have, and meet these requirements by the Department of Work and Pensions? It's just,
it's mental.
I just don't know.
Like, to think, if we're so lucky for the imports that most of us, our accommodations all sort of tied in with our contracts and stuff like that, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to survive.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, like with the likes of, just say, your Marys and your Vincombo, like, they were two of the top performing imports in the league this year, players, like, just across the league. To think that those kind of calibers of players wouldn't be able to be here, like, it just it's really sad. And you want this league to keep growing, because it's, from where I came for the first year to where it is now, like, it's 10 times better. And so I can only imagine what it'd be like in the future if we could get these little things right. And also, I think a lot of when I say our, I mean the English players that are playing abroad would probably stay here and play if this becomes the league to be at,
Yeah. And have you found that actually this concern impacts your ability to perform on court? Like, if you're, obviously there's a lot of financial issues that come with it, and being able to support yourself. Do you find that this has ever impacted you on court?
I try and keep all of that sort of stuff aside. But I mean, at the end of the day, when you've got no money coming in, it's hard to keep yourself fed in the way that you would like to be able to perform and do all of those little bits and pieces and stuff like that. So it does have an impact on you to think, oh my gosh, like, I've still got 2 weeks to payday. I'm running out of money. I need to pay my bills. Like, it is hard. And the fact that we're so far away from home as well, it all has that emotional sort of stress on you. And it's been tough. Like, it's been really, really tough.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think we both agree, this is a hugely important topic, and it's something that we are definitely planning to revisit over the next couple of months. So watch this space. So, Kim, 2021 done, tick. 2022 pending. What is next for you now? What's on the cards for you?
It's way too early to talk about 2022. This season ended yesterday, Lucy.
It's never too early.
I'm trying to get a flight home. My flight's actually just been cancelled today.
Oh no.
So it just keeps getting better. So Bath are doing whatever they can to sort of make sure that I get a flight to go home and spend some time with the family. And then we haven't really had those discussions around contracts and stuff just yet. So hasn't been too much talk on that. Also, we've been prepping for finals. So we were, so focused on this season rather than next year. But, if I get the opportunity, I'd love to stay around.
Yay! Well, I think everyone will be very pleased to hear that you would like
Hopefully,
to come back.
I can manage the winter, a little bit longer.
Yeah,
eternal winter.
Honestly, Lucy, I kid you not. So I've been here for 3 years now, like on and off. but I come over here and it's winter. And then when I leave, it's summer. But then I go home to Australia, that is winter. And then as soon as it starts getting hot over there, I'm back here. It's just like a never-ending winter.
It's like Game of Thrones.
Yes, exactly. Honestly, it's just like I just need some sun.
Give me that vitamin D. 100%. Oh, amazing. Well, I sincerely hope we do see you back in our league next year, because you are such an asset, and it has been a pure joy to watch you this season. And I'm sorry you couldn't get the win in the end, but my God, you guys did put up a fight, and it was an absolute pleasure to watch you.
Well, thank you. No, it's been lovely, and to be able to come over here and play with such freedom and things like that, because I don't play how I guess every other shooter does. It's quite nice, and it's nice to have that skill recognised as well. So it is bloody hard. Like, I'm not even 6 foot, so to go up against defenders that are always taller than me. It's actually, it's nice. And I like the little dynamic that I've got going on with Sophie and Betsy. So it's lovely.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're such a special player, and pure asset to our league. Thank you so much for coming on, Kim. It's been so great to talk to you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to episode 21 of Quarter Time. As we mentioned at the start of the episode, this will be the final episode of season 1, as we look to take a little bit of a break following the finals, because, man, I'm exhausted.
But don't worry, we won't be disappearing completely, and we'll be putting out at least 1 episode per month during the off season, as well as a few other extra special bits as well, including coverage of the ANZ and SSN finals, along with all the key international fixtures, and of course the Super League signing window when that rolls around, which I am very excited for. Yes. I cannot wait to see who's moving where, and we'll be bringing you all the updates as we get them.
Yeah, man, it's going to be juicy. So the best way to keep in touch with us with what's coming up is to follow us on social media at Quarter Time Pod, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast as well. Please do let us know what you've thought of all the episodes so far, which ones have been your favourites, and if you have any ideas for guests or topics that you'd really like to hear about on the pod next season, give us a shout.
Don't forget also that the ANZ and SSN are still ongoing, and you can watch all the ANZ matches via the Netball New Zealand website and the SSN through the Netball Live official app.
Just to finish, we just want to say a huge thank you to everyone for all of your support and listening to the very first season of Quarter Time Podcast. We've genuinely been overwhelmed by the positive comments and feedback that we've received, and it has been so much fun to chat to so many awesome guests and get answers to all of the questions that we've always wanted to know. So massive thank you.
Definitely. And stay tuned for updates, and we will see you all very soon. Bye.
Bye.